Good evening, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Mr. Anand Kripalu. Thank you and for joining the session, and welcome to all of you. Please allow me to, introduce you to the audience. I'm sure. So, Mr. Anand Kripalu is presently the Managing Director and Global CEO of Blackstone-backed EPL Limited, which is formerly the SL Propack Limited, the global leader in laminated tubes. Till recently, he was Managing Director and CEO of United Spirits Limited, which is also the Diageo India, and a member of Diageo's global executive. He was also chairman of the IPL franchise, Royal Challengers Bangalore. He was formerly President, India and Southeast Asia at Mondelez International, President Asia and MD of Cadbury India, and a member of Cadbury's global leadership team. Prior to that, he worked at Unilever for 22 years, actually. In a career spanning nearly 4 decades, Anand has led businesses and regions for the last 17 years in 3 different stages, starting with turning around Unilever East Africa, which had not grown and made losses for a decade, resulting in sustainable profitable double-digit growth in the first year itself, to accelerating Cadbury India's performance with a sales and profit CAGR of nearly 25% over 8 years, to completely transforming United Spirits post-acquisition into a much-respected subsidiary of Diageo. Anand has a bachelor's degree in electronics from IIT Madras, graduating in 1980s, an alumnus. He has an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, from where he received the Distinguished Alumnus Award. He has completed the Advanced Management Program from Wharton Business School and is currently on the board of IIM Jammu. Earlier, Anand chaired the CIA National FMCG Committee and CIABC, the Confederation of Indian Alcoholic Beverage Companies, and has been a member of the Managing Committee of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He also served on the board of Marico India Limited for 10 years. Such an honor for us to have you here this evening, and we all look forward to listening to you and all the insights and all the guidance that you have for the students here. Thank you, sir, for joining us again, and I look forward to a very exciting and interesting session now.
Well, thank you so much, Kaviraj, and first and foremost, thank you to you and to IIT Madras for inviting me. Talking about IIT Madras and talking to people from IIT Madras is really a walk down memory lane. All right. Because it just brings back so many memories, so many wonderful memories of our time there. So today I'm going to share a bit about my leadership journey and the key lessons from that. So some of the things that you mentioned in my introduction, I'm going to tell a bit more about what happened. And I'll try to keep it as a story, because I really believe people remember stories. They don't remember, facts and data and numbers, right? But they remember the story behind it. So I'm going to try and tell it like a story. And I hope that some of the lessons that I'm going to share will help people who are on this call as they take on their journey of their careers and their lives. Okay. Just very simply, I want to say that like many people who go to IIT, I started life in a very happy but a very middle-class home. And that middle-class mentality of working hard, working with integrity, working with conscience, doing more with less, not wasting anything, trying for a better deal, even if you are going to buy vegetables. Those are the kinds of things that actually have shaped my thinking and my career in business, right? Because it's, the fundamentals that you grow up on actually influence how you take decisions, even if you're taking decisions of crores or hundreds of crores of rupees. That same attitude and approach is there. Very often I tell people that you don't spend money based on how much you have in the bank. You spend money based on your mindset. And even if you have a lot of money in the bank, but you've grown up in a middle-class way, you cannot waste money. You cannot spend more for something than it's worth it, right? So it's all about the mindset. So I came, as you said, to IIT Madras in 1975, did electronics. And I must tell you, it was the most amazing 5 years of my life. Okay. I really believe I joined as a boy and I left as an adult. Right. Those 5 years on campus. First year was in Alakananda, and then the rest was in Jamuna, 4 years in Jamuna. I visited campus last time and I found that the room numbers had been changed. I was going looking for my room in Jamuna and the numbers had been changed and one more floor has been built on top. I absolutely loved campus life, going to those OAT movies, and I made lifelong friends. Huh? And it's amazing how many of my batchmates I'm in, not just in touch with on WhatsApp, but in close touch. If somebody has a major event, we will travel around the world to go and be there, right? So that's the kind of bond that IIT Madras created in us. But it also taught me how to think, right? And while I might not have pursued a hardcore engineering career, and there's a bit more science and engineering in laminated tubes than was there in alcohol or in chocolates or in detergents, right? It taught me how to think, how to approach a problem, how to evaluate a problem, how to trade off pros and cons, right? It just gives you a structured way of approach. And many people know in my teams that I am highly structured. And I say that's all because of that training that happened during my 5 years at IIT. So in those 5 years, I learned how to work hard, but I have to be honest and say I learned how to play even harder. All right. So it wasn't only about work hard, but also about play hard and enjoy life, right? Life's too short to not enjoy it. Now, I was also one of the few guys in electronics from that batch. And by the way, your director was my classmate in electronics, right? Bhaskar Amurthy was my class, my section of electronics. We were only 32 guys, I think, if I remember right. I was one of the few who decided to stay in India and never went overseas, even for a master's. Right? I decided to stay in India, and I have to be honest and say, and this is a message to many of you who, as you get into your later years, you're desperately sending forms to make applications and so on and so forth. It's a decision I've never regretted. Huh? I actually look back and say it was probably the best decision I took, to stay in India and just be a first-class citizen in my home country. Right? The other thing I have to say is the power of the pedigree of being from IIT Madras will stay with you your entire life. Huh? I left IIT 41 years ago. And even now with pride, I say I'm from IIT Madras and everyone says, oh, wow. Right? So it never goes away. That rubber stamp that you get once you've been there stays with you through your life. So you must cherish that. It's a very powerful thing to cherish. After IIT Madras, I went to IIM Calcutta, and that's where I discovered the fascinating world of consumers and brands. Right? Incidentally, I also discovered my wife in IIM Calcutta because I married a batchmate of mine from IIM Calcutta. Okay, so I learned more than marketing when I was in IIM Calcutta. Now, post my education, I've worked for almost 4 decades, as you said, Kaviraj, in the introduction, all in consumer goods, apart from the last 2-3 months. And I'm not going to speak much about these last 2-3 months. All in consumer goods, a third in frontline selling, a third in marketing, bringing brands alive, and the rest in general management, right, as a CEO or a managing director of a company. And like you said, I spent 22 years in Unilever, 8 in Cadbury, and 8 in Diageo. Okay. And I must say, I worked my way through the ladder of corporate life, rung by rung, step by step. Huh? There is no free lunch, right? You earn the next job by doing your current job well, right? If you keep looking at, from the day you join, I want to be CEO, you'll probably never get there. You have to get it step by step, and each step you learn, you contribute, and then you earn the right for the next job. So, as Steve Jobs said, and I don't know how many of you have seen his commencement speech or his graduation speech actually at Stanford. But if you haven't, it is an absolutely must-see, right? And one of the concepts he speaks about there is connecting the dots. And, a lot of people overthink their career, thinking and planning and saying, this is how I want my career to go. And one thing is for sure, that is exactly how it will not happen. Okay. But when you look back at your career, you can connect the dots. And you can see how different experiences made you what you are. And therefore, I'm going to tell my story of a few experiences that I went through. And, in some ways, those will connect the dots in terms of, bringing alive the person you're seeing in front of your screen today. And just to be focused, obviously, I did a lot of ground level jobs, but I'm going to share those 3 experiences that Kaviraj just spoke about. My 3 stints in leadership or in general management. Okay. One was about turning around a business, and these are different things that I learned. The second about getting into a business that's doing well and how do you make it do better, right? And the third is how do you transform a business, which is like uprooting a tree and planting it upside down, right? It's as severe as that. And then we'll focus on a few learnings, all right? So my last job in Unilever, but my first exposure to general management was when I was transferred as managing director for Unilever East Africa in Nairobi, posted in Nairobi in East Africa, right? Covering Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, and a few smaller countries. Now, this was a business that had not grown for a decade and lost money every year. And the brief from my boss in Africa at that time was, this is the last chance we're going to take. We've tried many. If you don't turn this business around, we will shut this business, right? And for Unilever to exit a market is a massive decision, right? But they would have done that. I landed in Nairobi, and what's the first thing? First thing I thought is, my God, there's so many Indians here. And, you can get dosa, you can get dokla, you can get everything in Nairobi. Because Indians went 100 years ago to build the railway lines and stayed there. But over time, because of the enterprising nature of the Indians, they started controlling 80% of the industry and the business there. And the locals disliked the Indians, right? And that's something I picked up very quickly when I went there and joined Unilever. And they were asking this question, why do we need an Indian to come here and tell us what we should do, right? Because they just didn't like an Indian coming and being their boss. The other thing I realized, by the way, as I was talking to people, is that everyone had this victim mindset. So this business was not doing well, as I said. And when you ask them why it was not doing well, they all externalized every problem. They said the economy is not doing well. All the Indian competitors, they're non-compliant. They're bribing their way and getting business done. The regional office in Durban in South Africa is not giving us freedom to operate, and so on and so forth. It was all about, I am okay, you are not okay. In fact, they couldn't tell me one thing that they were not doing well or that was not okay with them. They were okay, everything else was not okay. So what did I do in that situation? I decided that I need to build credibility with this team. So I traveled the length and breadth of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania over 3 months. I sat in people's homes, people who were earning $1 or $2 a day, and talked to them about their problems. And soon I had covered more ground in the rural areas and the hinterland than many of the senior people who were the locals in that company, right? I had actually gone and reached out to people in this country. And I earned a bit of their respect. And that's when they felt, all right, maybe this guy has some right to comment now because he has earned that respect. So we put a simple ambition and strategy together for that business. Some things that I truly believe in is focusing on a few brands. I carried the idea of low unit price packs. So if you go to the market, a lot of people buy shampoos in sachets. In fact, more shampoo sold in sachets than in bottles in this country. That's not true in US. US, there's bigger and bigger bottles only. In India, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, they will buy shampoos, right? Sachets and use it. But when you are a low-income consumer on a daily wage, you get up in the morning with no money in your pocket. You earn daily wage, and in the evening you have to go and buy 15, 20 different categories of products, a shampoo, some salt, some pickle, some rice, some vegetable, whatever. And you go to sleep with, again, no closing balance in your pocket. So if your shampoo is only in bottles, they'll never use your shampoo because they never have enough money to put on the table on any given day. All right. So I introduced all these low unit price packs, right, and a program to lower the cost in the business, cut cost. I realized that the Europeans had been advising the Africans, and therefore European machines, Italian machines, German machines were there, and they were trying to sell the cheapest soap to the poorest people in the country. All right. So we started going after those kinds of costs. And, the business started turning around, right? At the end of the year, the business grew double digit and turned profitable. And I can tell you this sustained for at least a decade after that. And you know why? Because people had started believing in themselves that they could solve the problem. They stopped complaining about what others were doing to them and started doing what they could do. Now, even though I left this business in 15 months and came back to India to join Cadbury, I think the legacy was that I left a team that was believing in themselves. And my lasting memory of Nairobi, I still have that video on a CD somewhere, was that many of the people who had rejected me at first were weeping at my farewell. All right. So for me, that was the ultimate reward and testimony that a person who came with a certain nationality and was disliked for that, right, was able to extract tears from their eyes when he was saying goodbye. And I was leaving the shores of Africa to come back to India. And so that was in November 2005, that I landed back in Mumbai from Nairobi to join Cadbury as managing director for the Indian subcontinent. I'm sure everyone knows the Cadbury chocolate company, right? The last time I came to IIT Madras in 2012, in the auditorium, I gave free chocolates to everyone who attended. I'm sure people remember that. If you had invited me when I was in Diageo, I would have given you something more interesting, maybe. But I don't know if people were able to get some insights or not from that session, but they certainly had something to chew on, at the end of the session. So I joined in 2003, 2005, and in 2003, 2004, many people who are older would have remembered there was this big infestation crisis that happened in Cadbury, this worm crisis. And there was this newspaper articles everywhere saying there are worms in Cadbury chocolate. Okay. And, the team at that time, before I arrived, did a great job of resolving that crisis. They made packaging changes. Earlier, it was a paper envelope wrapper. So they started changing that to, hermetically sealed packs. And they brought Amitabh Bachchan on board, right? And that was a coup, right? As you know, Amitabh Bachchan is like Rajinikanth in many parts of the country. That's the only analogy I have. And, he was there to endorse and say, this product is safe. I've seen it. I've produced it, been to the factory, and it's safe. So the business came back to delivering kind of high single-digit growth. 7, 8, 9% growth was beginning to deliver again. And that was the historic rate of growth of that business. 7, 8, 9%, high single-digit. And the interesting thing is that everyone believed that that growth was fantastic. If you ask them, why do you think 8, 9% growth is fantastic? They said that, well, Cadbury was a mature brand in a mature category. We had 60% market share, right? It's been around for 60 years. Why will it grow faster? And, in marketing, we have this saying, there are no mature brands. There are only mature brand managers, right? Only the people who think about that brand are mature. The brands are never mature, okay? And that was also the time in 2005 when the economy was beginning to open up in India. And, I felt at that time there was a party going on. A lot of companies were euphoric about their performance, but Cadbury wasn't invited to that party. we had this modest rate of growth at that time. I felt we should go much faster, but most people in the company did not. So I partnered with a few people to put together an ambition to grow that business by at the rate of 20% for the next 5 years, right? So historic growth rate was 8-9%, saying we will grow this business at 20% for the next 5 years. So 20% till 2010. Most of the people in the team felt I was absolutely stupid. Why? Well, it's never happened before, so why will it happen now? That was the logic that people were using. But nevertheless, I put together a strategy. And by the way, in life and in business, and I'll talk about it later, the one thing that is not taught in school is the power of focus. There were many brands in Cadbury. In my first year, I killed 1/3 of the brands in the company. Killed meaning we stopped making it, killed it. We halved the number of SKUs, right? People in supply chain will understand the number of stock keeping units. We halved them in the company to simplify. We halved the number of innovations that we were introducing every year, and growth started improving. And it's interesting. You start cutting everything and suddenly growth improves. Why is that? I don't know how many of you on the call are farmers or have seen a gardener. What does a gardener do? He cuts the weeds. Why does he cut the weeds? Because otherwise the weed is taking away the nutrient for the plant. If you cut the weed, then the plant will grow faster. So too in business. There are weeds in every business. You have to cut the weeds if you want the business to grow faster. And that's what I was trying to do. Growth started improving, and many of the naysayers who said it's not possible slowly started coming on board. And those few innovations, so that is the year when 2 big innovations were launched, which you might have heard about today. One is Cadbury Dairy Milk Silk, which has performed extremely well in the marketplace. And the second is Oreo cookies, Cadbury Oreo biscuits. Both those were launched during that time, and both have become big successes. Over the next 8 years, Cadbury grew at 25% per annum CAGR, year on year, on revenue and 25% on profit, versus a historic growth rate of 8-9%. The turnover of the business was 700-800 crores. It was almost 5,000 crores when I finished. And the only lesson for me was that if I had to do it again, I would have set an ambition of 30% growth and not 25%. Because we ran out of manufacturing capacity, right? Our factories were full. The organization was creaking because the organization didn't have the capacity to handle this kind of growth. That was the biggest lesson for me. And then Cadbury got acquired in a hostile takeover by a company called Kraft Foods. The guys who make Kraft cheese, Kraft Foods. And then the company was split and all kinds of things started happening. And I felt it was the time to move on and go and do something different. And that's when I joined Diageo. Now, Diageo is the world's largest premium spirits company. Brands like Johnnie Walker, single malts like Talisker and Lagavulin, gins like Tanqueray and Gordon's, vodka like Kettle One and Ciroc, Smirnoff, rum like Captain Morgan, liqueurs like Bailey's Irish Cream, beer like Guinness. So those are the kinds of brands that Diageo has. And Diageo has been awarded Britain's most admired company multiple times. And as an alcohol company, to be awarded Britain's most admired company tells you that alcohol can be sold with pride, sold honestly, and sold honorably. Okay. But that's not the image in India for alcohol, right? So when I was first approached to integrate United Spirits, which was this company that Diageo acquired from Vijay Mallya, right? And a lot has been written in the public domain on that acquisition. So I'm not going to get into the gory details, right? But when I was approached to merge United Spirits and a small Diageo India business into one company, I got cold feet. I said, after 30 years in working in clean, blue-blooded multinationals, did I want to go and work in the alcobev industry, in alcohol? And the greatest thing about alcohol that I discovered is, people hate to talk about alcohol and the alcohol industry during the day, but love to enjoy it in the evening, right? And that's the nature of the industry, right? Everyone says industry is bad, all that stuff. But in the evening, you want to have a drink, right? At least if for those who are above legal drinking age. And that's the funny thing with it, right? So there was this bad image that the industry had of not doing business ethically and compliantly. But then the positive side, there was Diageo, which was a great company. And I thought long and hard whether I should take this job or not at that time. And I can tell you many people, including some very senior alumni to me, said, Anand, you are making the biggest mistake of your career. This is the wrong job for you to do. And they're all absolute well-wishers of mine and said, this is absolutely the wrong job to do. You'll get tarnished, you'll get tainted. But then I thought, I was at a stage of career, I was 55 years old at that time. I said, maybe I have an opportunity to change this image as my lasting legacy. Maybe I can do certain things so that people after me will not go through those same butterflies in the stomach that I was experiencing. So I took the plunge. And I can tell you that the challenge was much more than I ever expected. Much, much, much more. All kinds of legacy issues emerged when I took on. We had to change the whole board of directors of the company. We had to change compliance and ethics and governance, and very different from Cadbury, which was making a nice ad for Cadbury chocolates and everyone would buy it, right? This was a very different management challenge. And again, we set about putting a vision and strategy for this business. The company had 150 brands, right? United Spirits has brands like Bagpiper and Director Special and McDowell's Number One. McDowell's Number One is the largest selling whiskey in the world, more than Johnny Walker, right? McDowell's in India sells more than Johnny Walker worldwide. So some of these brands were massive brands. So we started saying, out of the 150 brands, let's focus on a few again, change how we sell, transform the cost base. We had 94 factories. Today there are 47. We halved the number of people in the company, white collar employees in the company, and focused on inclusion and diversity. You know, on the 1st of October 2013, I walked into the boardroom of United Spirits in Bangalore. This big boardroom with wooden paneling everywhere. There were 25 people in the company, the management committee of the company. There was not one woman. No wonder the industry had the image it had. Everyone said it's an old man's industry. Those are the only kind of people who work there. Today, 4 out of 8 in the leadership team are women, half in an alcohol company. And 1/3 of the top 50 are women in the company. Alcohol can be sold honorably and ethically. And we also changed the way business is done. I can tell you this, that today, people are willing to join Diageo India or United Spirits from the best blue-blooded companies. I can tell you that a lot of people told me that, this is the wrong decision I'm taking by joining this job. A lot of people told me you cannot do business ethically. And I can tell you, not 1 rupee was paid to anybody to do business. I walked away from some states. Today in Andhra Pradesh, for instance, Diageo sale is 0 almost after market leadership, because you're not able to do business in Andhra Pradesh today, by the way. I don't know how many of you from Andhra Pradesh on this call. Okay, there you go. Shweta is from there. We're not able to do business in Andhra Pradesh, right? Impossible to do it the right way. So from market leadership to 0 sales, right, has happened. Now, those are the challenges of the alcohol industry. It's a state subject, right? There's no national policy on alcohol. It's a state subject. Each state decides. And of course, the icing on the cake for me was being associated with RCB and managing the cricket team and getting so close to people like Virat Kohli or AB de Villiers or Harshal Patel or Yuzvendra Chahal, and getting to know them, their wives, their kids, their families, right? That was the icing on the cake. That was absolutely a magical experience to be traveling with the cricket team, and going for matches. So anyway, so that's the kind of three stories of my career, right? Three different kinds of stories. One was a turnaround, the East Africa one. One was accelerating growth, which was Cadbury. So taking a good company, doing well and making it do even better. And the third was about changing the way business is done and changing the culture and profile of United Spirits. So let me walk through a few lessons, extract a few lessons from those stories, okay? And listen, whatever I'm telling you is not from any management book. There's no jargon. These are real stories. These are personal experiences, and the lessons are personal extractions from that story. The first one is setting the right ambition is one of the most important decisions in life and in business. Setting the right ambition for yourself and for your business. If you aim to do really well in life, that's the kind of effort you will put in. If you aim to do average, that is the kind of effort you will put in. Everything starts with an ambition. If tomorrow you want your kids to go to IIT, that's the kind of effort you will put in. That's the kind of coaching class you will send them to. That's the kind of thing you will do. All right. And it's one of the most important decisions people take. Now, people are frightened of setting a bold ambition because you could fail, right? You could fail. But if you set your ambition too low, you leave money on the table. You underachieve what you're capable of achieving in life. And ambition is basically a combination of science, which is the past, and a dream, right? And that is why an ambition is an ambition, right? But then, of course, you have to have a plan to achieve that ambition. But what I've learned is that you have to set the right ambition for yourself and for your business. It's the most important decision that people have to make and that a leader has to take. The second is the power of focus. Indians think they are brilliant at multitasking. I'll tell you, when you go abroad, you will realize only Indians can speak to 5 people in the room at the same time and follow everybody. And the Westerners go mad. They cannot follow what you guys are talking about, right? So we think we are multitaskers. But reality is, if you do that, you become a jack of all trades and master of none. How many people do we know who have reached international levels in sport, in multiple sports? We all know people who have reached international level in one sport. How many people have reached international level in 2 or 3 sports? Getting to international level requires mastery, and that demands time and attention and commitment and focus to that. Okay. I also joke very often and say, why do people have only 1 or 2 kids and not 1 dozen? Power of focus, right? When you have 2 kids, you can do the best for them. You can focus on them. You can help them. You can support them. If you have 1 dozen, you won't even remember their names. Okay, it's the power of focus. Now, this is not taught in a management school, but I can tell you this is easily forgotten. Whether in business or in your life, choose the battles you want to win. Choose them and put your might behind that, right? You will win it. The third lesson really is that we make growth happen. This victim mindset is the worst thing. In the pandemic, many people tell you, oh, the pandemic has happened, what can I do? But people who have to do something take charge of what is in their circle of control. Forget about the circle of concern. I mean, if the GDP is down, can I do anything about it? Let the government worry about that. Yeah? Let me focus on what I can control. And this thing of feeling in control, right? As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Don't blame everyone else that nobody's changing. You change first. You do what you must do. This victim mindset is the worst mindset because then you feel helpless, right? And you externalize every problem and you live miserably if you do that. Take charge. Get on top of your job. Get on top of your life. Don't say, these things have happened to me, so now there's very little I can do. Take charge, right? Only you can fix that. So whether it's growth or anything else, take charge. We make it happen. Somebody else doesn't make it happen. And I'll give you one data point. When we correlated GDP of the country with Cadbury's performance for the previous 10 years when I joined the company, there was negative correlation. Negative correlation. Because the growth of Cadbury was not dependent on GDP growth. It was dependent on quality of advertising, quality of innovation, quality of distribution, quality of selling. It was not dependent on GDP. So you take charge of the variables in your control and you can change destiny. You can change the future. The fourth is be future ready. You know, this world is changing so fast. I mean, we never saw the nature of change, right? I mean, we had one computer in IIT Madras when I was there, IBM 370 155 in one computer center. Punch cards. We used to punch cards, give it. Next day after 24 hours, you'll go to the next counter and you'll say compilation error. You go and rewrite your program. Okay, right? The pace of change today is incredible. And I'll just say this. One of my early bosses told me that God has given us two eyes. One to look at today and one to look at tomorrow. In whatever you do in business and in life, you absolutely have to focus on the present. No question. You can't trip on the current. But you have to plan for tomorrow and be ready for tomorrow. Otherwise, the pace of change is so fast that you will perish and you will fall behind. And finally, I want to say the fifth lesson is win the right way. I cannot emphasize how important this is. A lot of people get into corporate life and business in India saying, in India, you cannot do business the right way. And I can tell you one thing, it can be done. I mean, I'm happy to fight anybody in a fair fight as long as we play by the rules. Okay? Playing by the right rules, not by playing with the wrong rules. People will tell you, or you know, it will cost us so much to do it this way, just give somebody something, they'll get it done. We are not going to build a great India by doing that. Right? Ultimately, you have to sleep with yourself, with nobody else. And I believe businesses are governed by conscience, not by rules and regulations, by conscience. What does your inner voice tell you is the right thing to do in any situation, right? So I can tell you that, you know, some of the biggest companies in the world have been tainted so badly because of compliance. Enron, British Petroleum, Volkswagen, Satyam. I mean, just think about it. Big institutions collapsed. Who has heard of Satyam now? Huh? It was an IT revolution, right? When it was there. Right? Gone. You get found out, huh? And if you don't get found out in this life, you'll get found out in the next life. Right? It'll catch up with you. So listen, win, but win the right way. So set the right ambition, the power of focus. We make things happen. Somebody else does not. Be future ready. Think for today, but also keep an eye on tomorrow. And absolutely play to win, but win the right way, not the wrong way. That's not what middle class values and a strong conscience gives you. So that's what I wanted to share in terms of my own stories and, you know, some of the lessons that I have learned as part of this long journey since I left IIT Madras 41 years ago. But it has been a fantastic journey, and I'm privileged, I think, to be sitting here and talking to you guys. I must also say that I never ever dreamt that I would have this kind of a journey. I never ever dreamt, never even aimed this far. I couldn't even think this far, right? So I think whatever has happened is well beyond my own ambitions, well beyond probably what I deserve. Sometimes in life, you get lucky, but I must say I'm really blessed in terms of the kind of career I've had, starting from Jamuna Hostel to, to where I am today. So that's it, folks.
Thank you, sir. In fact, what a fascinating journey it is. Like, as a person, I myself work with firms like Pepsi and Star TV, and I could relate to every insight that you mentioned, how relevant it is in a consumer-oriented environment. Right? And we now have a few questions from the students. So I'll hand it over to Sharath, who is our student coordinator here. It's obviously a privilege for every one of them to interact with you. So over to you, Sharath, for coordinating the Q&A session.
Thank you, sir. So good evening, sir. We've got a few
evening.
questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
The first one is, while many aspects of leadership are timeless, what new skills and mindsets will be needed to lead effectively into the future when knowing all the answers is no longer something we can expect of modern leaders?
So I think there are certain qualities of leaders that will stay timeless. Right? And I'll tell you what are my few principles of leadership. Values-driven leadership. People connect with you because their values connect with you. Vulnerability. You never know it all as a leader. Say, I don't know, right? Ask for help. People will come and help you. If you're Superman, nobody comes to help you, right? Fairness. I believe I've never had favorites. I will never give somebody something more because I like that person's face. I go to unbelievable extents, drive my HR guys crazy to be fair and seem to be fair, right? And principled in what I do. And I would say, finally, as a leader, making the whole more than the sum of the parts, providing inspirational leadership where everybody will perform better than what they would have done if your leadership touch and impact was not there. I think these are timeless. As long as there are people and there are leaders, I think these are timeless. Now, what has changed? I think the whole rhythm of change, the pace of change, requires us absolutely to take decisions with 80% data. In IIT, we learned that, my God, we'll have every single bit of data in front of us, right? And sometimes when we started our career, we will ask for more and more data, more analysis, to the point of paralysis sometimes, because we were trained to look at data, right, as almost as a perfection, right? But now you have to take decisions with 80% data, sometimes 50% data and 50% vision. Can you see the future? Because you will get to the future only if you can see it faster than other people can see it. So I think taking decisions with less data, where good amount of gut and judgment is married with data, will become critical. Nowadays, we say it is better to be first than perfect and late, right? So be 80% right and first. Get on with it. Okay, that's not how I started my career, by the way. Okay, I started my career looking at, well, Excel, Lotus 1, 2, 3 used to be there at that time, and then Excel arrived. But that's how we used to look at data. So I think the agility with which you need to make changes, right? And the other important thing is fail fast. Try fast and fail fast, right? Try something. It doesn't work. Be man or woman enough to stand up and say, this is failing. Now, I won't put good money after bad money. Let's try the other thing, right? That's also about agility. So I think these are the new leadership competencies, right, that I think are required. And, as a leader, finally, your neck is on the line, right? If you ask for more data, people will give it to you and they'll paralyze the organization. So you have to finally take everyone's view and then put a judgment call and take the decision. So I think there are certain timeless human values of leadership, right? And I can tell you, as long as you touch people, you can be amazed at what people will do for you. You have to touch them the right way, right? But have flexibility and agility and move from perfection to judgment, right? As just a management decision tool. And that's what I think is changing.
Okay, sir. So for the second question, we're in the middle of what people call the Great Resignation or the turnover tsunami. How can leaders more effectively respond?
We have this saying, people join companies, but leave managers. You join a company because it's a great company, great brand, right? I want to work there. But you leave because your manager couldn't engage you. He was not a talent magnet. He couldn't motivate you. He couldn't develop you, right? Assuming you got a fair remuneration, I'm saying, right? And I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 people say they're leaving for money, but don't leave for money. They start looking for jobs because they're unhappy with what they're doing. So what you can do as a manager or as a leader is to be that talent magnet, to be perceptive, to invest in talent, to help them develop and grow. And when people see that if I'm working with this person and I will grow with this person, they're not going to run away. Right? Why will they leave? So I think, again, it comes back to circle of control. You got to fix it. You can't say that, everybody's resigning nowadays, so we will also have 30% attrition. As a leader, you got to fix these things. Yeah, that's why they pay you what they pay you. Okay.
Okay, sir. So next question goes, what non-obvious 3 trends do you expect from India in the next 10 years and global disrupting trends?
Ooh, I mean, if it's non-obvious, then I'm not even sure I know them, right? So I don't know. But I think the thing is in consumer goods categories, and I'll stay focused on that because that's where my experience is. Finally, people have to consume your product, right? You can't have a bath using Wi-Fi, right? You need soap, right? You can't enjoy an evening without a drink for those who choose to drink, right? And you can't have a moment of indulgence without a piece of chocolate. So I think the fundamentals of product and product innovation will continue, and you have to continue to anticipate and satisfy consumer needs. I think how people will buy, how people will engage with your brand, how they will talk about your brand, all that is going through a radical change. So I think one of the things is this marriage of brick and mortar product categories with the age of the internet, right? And the age of the internet tells you, I mean, earlier, we were happy to send a postcard to somebody and they received it after 1 week. Yeah. Now you send a WhatsApp, you want an answer now, right? You're not willing to wait. So if I want a chocolate, I want it now. And suddenly you have all these delivery systems and ways to satisfy consumers that says, I will give you in 10 minutes. Right? Swiggy will go faster and faster. And I worry that their bike riders will have more and more accidents at this rate. But that's what they're doing, right? So the marriage of the brick and mortar product categories with new age technology and what it can enable you to do in how you understand consumers, how you service customers, how you deliver to them. I think that is really certainly one of the trends that I can talk about and see. I mean, beyond that, I'm not going to comment on the other two that was there in the question because I think I need to give it some more thought because you're asking for non-obvious ones. So I'm not sure I have enough non-obvious ideas on the table right now. So we should let that pass.
Okay, so the next question is for the RCB fans there. The question is, RCB has come close many times, but has not achieved the ultimate win of an IPL trophy. As a businessman and RCB insider, what reasons do you see for this missing result?
Ooh. See, if I had known the answer, we would have won the trophy by now. All right. We would have fixed it. I mean, I have to believe that, you see, we have come close in the finals. Right? And I still remember sitting and losing to Sunrisers Hyderabad in 2016 in Chinnaswamy in Bangalore, where, I mean, at halftime, everyone said, "Arey, this is yours, yeah, you won it." And I said, I will not agree or celebrate till the final ball is bowled, because in T20, we have seen how things change in 20 overs, in 5 overs, in 3 overs sometimes, right? things change. I think that there are a couple of things. So one is, I'm a great believer that culture drives performance, not the other way around. Huh? You create the right culture, you put in the right people, and they will deliver for you. You put in the right people, you don't have the right culture, they cannot deliver. All right. It's like having great people walking into a company where the culture is not nice. They will all underperform. I feel there was a bit of that. We didn't put the spotlight on creating the right culture that we needed. We had great stars. I mean, there's nobody like Virat Kohli. But Virat Kohli's practice regime and his discipline leaves everybody else frightened. Right? I mean, once I was on the treadmill in a gym and Virat was lifting 100 kilos behind me and AB de Villiers was running at 15 kilometers hour, I quietly took my towel and left. I said, this is not the place for me to do exercise, right? So the thing is, these guys have such a regime that they partly inspire by leading from the front, but partly overwhelm people. Now, the only thing that can fix that is if you get the culture right? Otherwise, many of the younger Indian players, just get frightened of even talking to Virat Kohli. For them to get a selfie with Virat Kohli is a dream come true. And then Virat Kohli, after scoring all the centuries, marries Anushka Sharma, and his value went up even more. Okay? So I think we were not able to create that, inclusive culture where in a team room, finally, there's no stars. Everybody is an equal member of the team with a clear role that they must perform. And I think our stars remain stars. Right? So I would say the learning is the culture was not strong enough and good enough to win, to get the best out of so many stars. Finally. So, I think we had a team of stars. We did not have a star team. That is the problem.
Nice, interesting. Okay. So the next question is, so you've spoken extensively the importance of focus and ambition in life. What is your advice for the students who are not yet sure of what they want to do?
So I was never sure. I came to IIT because I had 3 mamas who were engineers, and they told my mother, I said, you must send him to engineering. So I came to IIT. So my mother said, I have one more brother, younger brother. She said, yeah, Anand has gone to engineering, you become a doctor. So he became a doctor. Now that's how choices happen in life those days, okay? That's how it happened. All right? One was an engineer, one was a doctor. Now, I think this is per chance. You have to keep trying things. And I'll tell you the great thing about today is you don't have to commit yourself to something for your entire life anymore. We did not have that chance so easily. Today, you can try something. And if it doesn't work, there is no stigma attached. If you give that up and do something else. I know people at the age of 50 who've given up engineering and gone and joined medicine in the US to become a doctor. Well, suddenly they said, that is where my passion really lies. So I will say, just be open to possibilities. Don't be afraid to try different things, but be smart enough and confident enough to change, right? When it happens. Now, I stumbled upon the world of brands when I went to IIM Calcutta. I did my summer training in Hindustan Lever. I worked on close-up toothpaste and Fair and Lovely and stuff like that. And I said, wow, this is what I want to do. Okay, it just happened. And then I applied only for consumer marketing jobs after that, right? And I still spent my whole career doing that. It was unplanned. It was completely unplanned. So it happens. So I think don't live your life. Life is too short. So don't live your life unhappy. Don't live your life doing it because it's a job. No job is that good that you must do it if you dislike it. Right? And I'll tell you, the opportunities for you youngsters today is so much more than what we have. So again, be agile. What you expect from everyone else, be agile, and follow the path that brings out the passion in you. When then a job is not a job anymore, right? It's fun when you follow your passion. We now talk of passion to paycheck, right? Follow your passion and the paycheck will happen. That's what you should do.
fact, on adding to what you just mentioned, even I too have a question. Like,
Yeah.
this all of this here are like engineers, right? So when it comes to consumer marketing and branding and other things, how well do you think engineers are positioned vis-a-vis those from non-engineering backgrounds, like arts and commerce and humanities background, right? Is there anything like, are we at an advantage or a disadvantage? How do you compare that, like, right?
Advantage. So I must tell you one thing. People think marketing is creative. Marketing is hard science. Absolutely hard science. Understanding your product and the technology and the claims that you can make about what your product does. Understanding consumer research and consumer insights through data and analysis. Building strategies from all of that about what you want to do with your brand. Okay. The creative part is what you tell the advertising agency to do, to go and look at some pretty models and make some nice ads. Okay. But that is not marketing. Marketing is a science. And I'll tell you, those who are good with data, good with analysis, make the best marketeers. Right? So I don't think anyone should have any worry that their basic training in managing data and looking at numbers and being able to read what's between the numbers, right? I think that's an asset, by the way, folks. That's an asset.
Okay, so the next question is, what 3 non-classroom skills do you suggest that we learn which will differentiate us from our global peers? 3 non-classroom skills.
Non-classroom skills. Which will differentiate us from our global peers. I think the first thing is the middle class mindset. The middle class mindset of the previous generation was that everybody wanted their children to be better off than they were. Right? That was the mindset of our parents' generation. But the middle class mindset brings out a hunger and desire to succeed like no other. So since we're comparing global peers, when I went for this advanced management program at Wharton Business School in 2004, one of our professors there said, 10 years ago, if you came to the library, the Americans will be there at midnight studying. Now, if you go, it's only the Indians and the Chinese. The Americans have grown up having it too easy. They've all grown up with silver spoons in their mouth, and they've not had to struggle for anything. Okay. So I think one is that middle class mindset, that hunger as a non-classroom asset, I think really makes a difference. And it's the Indians who are willing to work 24/7, 7 days a week. All right, because they want to make it, yeah. Right. The second one, if I can, I'm not sure I'll be able to give you 3 anyway, is I think the ability to understand and appreciate the grassroots. When you get into business, right, it is the ability to get your hands dirty, your nails dirty, and really work at the grassroots that stands you in good stead when you become the CEO of the company. Yeah? You not only earn the respect, you also understand what they do and build empathy, right? And I think the kind of grassroots exposure and opportunities that you can get in India, right, are probably second to none, right? Because their grassroots is you'll have a Walmart next to you. Okay. I mean, here it's a little different, right? When you're talking about grassroots. And that grassroots exposure, that grassroots experience gives you a lot of empathy. And I think that stands you in good stead through your career. I think I'll just stop it too.
Okay, sir. So the next one goes, how do you face failures? Moreover, what is your perspective towards acquiring the mindset for excellence?
I mean, excellence is a belief, right? And I'll tell you, I finally do things in a way in which I feel good about how I've done it, right? And that happens when you do it and it meets the quality standards in your own eyes, not in your boss's eyes, in your own eyes. You know, finally, whether you've done a good job, an excellent job, or not done a good job, right? You know it. And I use that again, my eyes and my conscience far more. Listen, failures I've had so many, it's not funny. And failures must never lead you to have fear of failure. But a failure is the best teacher. The best teacher. I can tell you, I used to be national head of sales in Hindustan Lever, right? 3,000 people in sales, 3,000 distributors. And I wanted to drive a massive change program in the sales organization at that time. And at the end of 3 years, I achieved half of what I wanted to achieve. So I failed. And then I realized 2 lessons from that. One, when you want to change behavior of people, don't ask them to change too much. Behavior doesn't change easily. And the second is, as a leader, you can only under-communicate. You can never over-communicate. How many great leaders of the world do you know of who are poor communicators? When you think of any great leaders who are poor communicators? So I learned from that lesson that I need to over-communicate and that I need focus if I want to drive change. And that I executed in all my stints thereafter. It came out of that failure. I would never have learned it otherwise, the way I learned it. Because when you fail, it's in your face. But the important thing is you have to own up and say it's because of me. Again, don't externalize. Say, I made a mistake, but I'll not do it again.
Okay, sir. So the last question is, on what basis is a CEO of a company selected?
Listen, generally speaking, if you're working in a good company, it is meritocratic. You have to earn it, right? Nobody gives it to you on a platter. Now, what do people look for when they're selecting a CEO? Absolutely, you have to have strategic thinking, quality of mind, right? I mean, you can't be poor, but you also don't have to be Einstein, by the way, right? I was nowhere near a topper in IIT. Okay, so you have to have the right level of intellect, right? That's a given. And I think the second thing is that you need to be a leader who can make the whole more than the sum of the parts. And I think these are the 2 fundamental things, right? Now you have to have had performance track record and so on to even be considered to come into the reckoning, right? To become a CEO. You have to have all of that. But to make it finally, I think these are the 2 things. And I'll tell you where most people fail. Most people don't fail on the intellect part. You come from a good background, good college, you come from IIT, they fail on the leadership part, right? And on being a good, strong leader. So a lot of people get to a mid-level stage in their careers, right? Everybody gets there. A few percent only make it all the way. And the differentiating factor is not intellect. It's leadership. And leadership is about getting average people to perform in an extraordinary way. That's the simple definition. Right? If you're a leader who can make average people perform extraordinarily, you've done it. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. So we've come to the end of the questions. Now,
thank you, Anand, for the wonderful, fascinating session and taking us through your fascinating and unique journey over the last few years. I mean, one could always read a few things here and there, but it's a first-hand experience and the primary experience that you have gathered over the years, right? And the insights that leaders like you bring to sessions like that. That's what is really valuable to all of us, right? Very beneficial to, and it's actually a blessing that IIT Madras has got alumni like you, and who can speak to the students directly and give all these insights. Extremely grateful to you for spending your time this evening with us, the student community here. On behalf of IIT Madras and the student community also, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to you. We look forward to engaging with you more frequently and being in touch with you. Look forward to hosting you in IIT Madras as always whenever you come to this side of the city, of the world. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Hope all of you have a great evening, whatever is left of it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. Absolute pleasure. IIT Madras has a very, very soft corner in my heart. Okay, very, very special place in my heart. So always delighted, and absolutely I'll knock on your doors if I'm visiting Chennai.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.